Okay, we should have audio.
Okay. If
Do we have
anyone
audio
could
now?
post in chat, can you hear us now?
There's sounds good, Monkey.
Yep.
Good.
Yep, we're good.
Perfect.
Oh my
Yay!
gosh.
Welcome. That was so easy. Thank you, John, so much for helping us host again. I have not figured out OBS Studio, everyone, but it's okay.
I'm trying to be Channel 9 as a service. But of course, like I said, OBS and Teams crashed right when I was like ready to go live. I totally am owning this, and then
Classic. Hopefully we'll
Uh-oh,
never
and
get
now-
it figured out.
And now we can't hear. Oh, wait, can I hear John? Oh, wow, I just got really dizzy and confused by the delay. I looked over at my computer, which shows,
Mute the Twitch stream, Cody.
and I saw John talking, but I didn't hear him, and it really confused me for a second. But that's okay. It's been a long day, and it's only 10 a.m.
Oh, for sure. So welcome everyone to the .NET Community Stand-Up. This is the tooling edition that we do every month. I'm Kendra Havens. I'm a program manager on .NET and Visual Studio. With me is my co-host.
Cody Meyer. I'm a program manager on the Visual Studio for Mac team, and our host, our OBS host.
So I'm John Galloway, and I was planning on being totally silent, but you're actually featuring one of my blog posts at one point, and then I thought it would be fun to actually talk about that part. So, but for most of it, I think I'll just switch to the two of you and your sharing of your screen and stuff, and then I'll like reappear.
Sounds good. So
Perfect.
I think speaking of the blog posts, we can probably talk about our release notes first, and then we'll get into the VS for Mac integrated terminal bit in a second.
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go over the first couple of links that I wanted to share out. There we go. So you can get to all of these links. Sorry for the flashing craziness. I think that bug usually goes away in a sec. You can get to all of these links in the urls.com, and it's today's .NET Community Stand-Up. And I've pasted the link into the Twitch chat and not the YouTube chat because I didn't think that far ahead. Sorry. Sorry, the flashing's a little bit crazy. This happened yesterday, the flashing at the top, and it went away after just like 30 seconds.
We got like 8 seconds left of flashing then. Let's see if it...
I hope. Fingers crossed. Okay, but all I wanted to say was that we did release 16.6 Preview 3. The biggest thing for me in this is fake support for .NET Core. So there's a few other things, but so Microsoft Fakes is a way to isolate your tests. It's a mocking framework that is available in Visual Studio Enterprise. It was .NET Framework only, and now it supports .NET Core and SDK-style projects, but you do need to turn on a specific feature flag. So this was one of the little like paper cuts that people were hitting as they migrated a lot of their apps from .NET Framework to .NET Core. If they had this massive testing suite that they built out, they couldn't migrate their fakes tests, and now they can. Woot. So
That's
a couple,
pretty great.
yeah, that's good.
Your excitement over it isn't fake, though, is it?
Hey, I love puns.
I know.
Yeah, there's also, so that is under a feature flag. Also under a feature flag, I believe, is, the new Git experience. So we have like a completely new window for Git. I believe that's also one of our blogs Pratik wrote, yeah. So we kind of rethought the Team Explorer, and we're now just calling it the Git window because it's let's be honest. It is the Git window. So yeah, you can initialize and push repositories, which is really nice. You don't have to like get init from somewhere. I actually don't know if you were able to initialize repositories from Visual Studio before. I always use the Git bash.
Yeah, and I don't think you can, honestly.
Right.
Can you? Oh, now I want to check.
Now you can.
Yes, that's the important part.
I'm sad the glitching didn't go away. Maybe I'll reshare my screen really quick, see if it...
Maybe it's the dark mode or something.
The dark mode? No. Okay. Maybe I'll do... Did it work? Is it fine? Is it going to be okay?
See, the excitement. Oh, yeah, so far. What'd you change?
It looks okay. I did an app share as opposed to the desktop screen share. But even yesterday when I did the desktop screen share, it still caused the glitching. So I just tried something new. It's a miracle when things work. Anyway.
Well, we'll take it when we can.
Yeah. So anyway, like creating new branches, it should be a little bit more like continuous. I have actually really liked a lot of the improvements that come in the Team Explorer, and I found myself using it more and more, especially in the past year or so. And now that they've kind of put even more into the UI and stuff, I'm really excited to see it improve.
I like that branch management. If you scroll back up to the merging, I like this branch management. That's really a nice system. I know we're looking at redoing the Git experience on Mac as well. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of standardize on it. So that's a really good workflow there.
Yeah, I have been using this just a little bit, and it looks like they don't have, how the Git branch managing used to be at the bottom? I'm not seeing that, at least in the screenshots.
I kind of like it not at the bottom, because, I guess it's at the bottom in VS Code, though, isn't it?
It kind of cleans up. Yeah, I wonder. Maybe that'll be some of the first feedback that they're asking for. Oh, and they have little diagrams. And nice. For a long time, we've also had many of the commands indexed in like Control Q, but it looks like we're also giving things keyboard shortcuts. So it's just like Alt
G
and lots of stuff. Yeah.
That's another thing too, is that we're working on, and I'm glad to see this on the Windows side and on the Mac side, is that kind of standardizing on Git specific terminologies. Like you said a few minutes ago, let's not kid ourselves. Git is primarily the methodology that we're using for source control. So being able to standardize on these, that they're actually the same words that you use in terminal or in the CLI. I think that really helps, make that correlation between what you can do in the CLI and what you can do in the application too. So
this takes me back between back when Git hadn't one. So I started, my first internship was in 2014. And some teams were still using TFS as a source control system, which wasn't Team Foundation Server. It was also a separate, very much Git-like type of source control. Did you ever? Yeah, no,
I've used Visual Source Safe.
Oh, I think there we go.
I have a lot of gray hair, so that's the thing about Source Safe is that its name was kind of ironic considering the challenges that it would lead. I'm sorry if people like Source Safe on the presentation. I'm sorry, it's not safe. It's Visual Source Unsafe. That's what they should call it. See, I'm full of puns today. They're not landing, but I'm full of them.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, cool. So that's Git. And there's a couple other things in this release. And again, that is behind a feature flag, so you got to turn it on in our preview features and tools options. There's some C++ stuff, recognizing C++ 20. Wow, they're on 20? Okay, 20 concepts. Wow. And some issue fixes.
You want to look at the release notes for Mac? I think it's right over there.
Absolutely.
Hop on over to the left.
Okay. Wait.
There's some.
They're there.
There we go. Let's see. Release notes for 2019.
Right.
Should
I go to preview?
It's in the preview.
I'll go.
So one thing that I want to point out is if you are on Visual Studio for Mac, please update to the latest version on stable. There are some good fixes to Xamarin issues there, so I recommend checking that out. That would be on the stable channel. Let's look. This is it's just like the stable release notes. We're on stable or preview.
I am not on. Sorry.
I was gonna say 8.5.
I did try to click preview, but it didn't load. Okay.
All right, just some great things done. We're going to show the integrated terminal here in just a few moments, but two things I want to point out too is the updated identity libraries. So if you log into the IDE, it gives you access to Azure resources, being able to publish to Azure, and also stuff like access to Azure DevOps Git. So that's some great stuff there. Wow. It was kind of finicky in the past, if I'm honest, but we've updated the way that we do the logins to use the latest Microsoft Identity provider, and that will make that a lot more reliable. So that's great. And gRPC support, which is pretty awesome too. So those are the things we're really focusing on. The integrated terminal is the big, highlight feature of this one. We'll get into we can probably hop on over unless there's other things we want to show on this site. But some of the advantages of the integrated terminal are you can't even
Huge.
quantify all of them.
It's an integrated terminal. You can do anything.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the point.
Yeah, it's like having your OS right there. So, John, do you want to talk about the terminal a bit?
Yeah, sure. Let me make sure I'm on. I hopefully have my video. I don't know. So yeah, the terminal is really cool. It's the way they did it is really nice. It's integrated in with the Mac OS terminal. So what that means is your history, your customizations, and everything are all there. So I had gone through like the Mac OS terminal uses Z Shell by default now, and I'd gone through and hooked up all my Z Shell and did all these customizations, and it was really cool when I popped open the terminal to see them all there. So this is an example. This animated GIF or GIF, as you choose, is showing, typing things in.
GIF.
Yeah, it's colorized. It's got all the like Powerline fonts and all that kind of stuff. What I'm showing in this example is both the Git experience and then also Angular scaffolding. So these are both pretty common use cases. Angular, React, Vue, all of them have scaffolders. And, of course, if you're doing anything with NPM, and then also some .NET commands are easier to do from command line, especially if you may have them in your terminal history. So yeah, that's cool. And then, yeah, if you scroll down a bit, there's the getting started part. As far as popping them open, there's several different ways. There's the view menu, there's Control tilde, and then you can toggle whether it's shown using the control, what is that called? Accent or something? Yeah.
The tick, yeah, accent mark.
It's the tilde key. But
yeah,
I think
the back
this one is
tick, yeah.
facing the wrong way because it's not a back tick, it's forward.
So
tick.
there's a forward and a back tick.
Yeah.
So the two bullet points, the one that you're on there with the control tilde shows the so both of those. And then another thing is you can use the control Q or the command dot search thing, which is in the upper right, quick search, I think. I forget what we and just type in the word terminal.
So say it's right here. Or you know what, you can't. If you're mouse, there you go, right there, where it says command dot to search.
Yeah.
Left of your cursor.
That in the upper right corner of the Visual Studio screenshot that you got there.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So if you type in the word terminal, it just launches it. I have been using that all the time lately, by the way, to navigate my source code. It's so cool. So anyhow, the picture there shows the terminal launching by default. So when you launch it, that's just the non-customized, whatever Z Shell terminal there. And then here's the search experience. So this is cool. It searches through your history. And again, because it's integrated in with the Mac OS system terminal, this searches all, your history in your current session. So what that means is, let's say I've been over in iTerm or whatever and doing a bunch of stuff. And then I go over into Mac, Visual Studio for Mac, and open up the terminal and I do a search. My history is all there, which is
wow.
neat. Yep.
That's awesome.
So then you can have multiple instance support. So here I've popped open another one. PowerShell's cross-platform. So I've launched a PowerShell one, which, sometimes, like for instance, somebody was asking me on Twitter about PowerShell for entity framework commands, like update database and stuff like that. And so you can just pop open a terminal for that. And then the last thing in here, configuring the terminal font. You can use, a lot of time for a terminal, you may have a specific font. So I'm using Cascadia Code PL, the Powerline one. And you can set that up there too. So a lot of people have specific terminal, you may want some specific customizations and you can do that too.
I think, did we also just get font control in the Windows terminal as well? Or in Visual Studio terminal? I think we did at a similar time. Cool.
Because fonts are incredibly important. Like I am pretty specific about my fonts. It can't be too, so yeah, I think that's you got to have that font.
Okay.
Font customizations.
What's your current favorite code? I'm currently using Cascadia Code with the Powerline one. I'm using that all over the place, Windows, Mac, everywhere. Do you have a favorite or?
Yeah, I was doing Source Code Pro. That's been my traditional favorite, but right now I'm doing Fiora Code because of ligature support.
Yep.
I mean, I think there's a fork of Source Code Pro that has ligature support called like Hasklig or something, which I haven't really given the old college try yet, but Fiora Code's doing a pretty good job for me right now.
And Cascadia Code also has support for ligatures too, which is neat.
Right. So I guess I can't really see on your screenshot, but when I first tried Cascadia Code when it first came out, like in November, the width was really thick on Mac. So I'm not sure if that has been resolved or not.
I don't know. All right. Well,
Fiora
yeah.
Code's
So,
I agree.
We got some Fiora Code fans in the chat too.
Well, because it's great. What about you? What's your font, Kendra?
I'm actually just basic. I
Consoles?
never change. I got consoles all the way, everywhere.
it's nice that the default is okay too. Consoles is a nice font, It's not.
Yeah, and like unfortunately, since I do so many demos, I have to use like the Visual Studio Blue theme because it shows up better on like projectors and everything. So I very rarely switch all of my defaults.
I like the blue theme though.
I know. I'm using like dark themes in like OneNote and all of my Office products and Teams and Edge and everything, but I can't actually use it in my code editor. So
I think we've done this discussion / argument before about whether dark themes are good or not.
we can move on, I guess.
I don't know. This is my soapbox. The problem with dark themes is like because dark themes are so popular right now, there's not that many great light themes out there. So if you are a theme maker and you want to make a nice light theme for VS Code, let me know because I would love to try it out. I'm super into light themes, but
that's good. Somebody's gotta love it. Okay. So something else I wanted to call out that was just really cool. We had like a big thank you post on all of our docs contributors, which was great. We've been debating whether or not to call out like actual community contributions to our product and where we should do it and how to onboard all of the product teams because we have like 50 bajillion GitHub repos and lots of awesome contributors there. But now we're actually like calling people out at least for docs because Jill got it together, which is really cool. So a lot of people are actually listed out in all of the work that they contributed and even just like issues that they opened. We're also calling out that these are really helpful.
I love that.
I know, it's good. It just like goes to show that we are actually so far outnumbered by customers that customer contributions are so integral to making it like a really good experience because everyone else will see many more things from many more different perspectives than we can imagine. So,
and I think that customer contributions to documentation is super important too because it gives you that context of folks who actually are using it and know kind of how to best word things in a way that's going to be well understood and well experienced by folks who use it every day. And we do our best to make sure the documentation is clear and concise, but there's always things that the cat's going to jump over now. Can you come over, cat?
Yay, cat.
There we go.
Should I stop sharing so we can give the cat a cameo?
Yeah, give the cat a cameo. The famous. I think this is the dev mascot. There she is. Yes, she's enjoying her time.
I love working from home.
I know. No, okay, you get comfortable, kitty? All right. Oh, you have a thing on your nose. You're on live TV and you have a thing on your nose. She didn't know she was going to be a star. Yeah.
And she needs to be camera ready.
A medium theme. I like that suggestion in the chat that we need a medium theme between light and dark. I guess that's what the blue theme is on Visual Studio. Right. It's kind of like the medium theme.
Makes sense. So lastly, I just wanted to call out, hopefully if you're watching this stream or if you watched it before, you've seen this little edit button that appears on all of our docs pages, and that's how you can actually become a contributor, and it'll take you into GitHub and kind of walk you through. Pretty cool.
Just if you haven't done that, it's really an easy experience. It's not hard to go through and edit something. And I mean, it's I've done a bunch of them in the past where I would just like leave a comment and I'll just go, well, I'll just go ahead and fix it, So.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And even just opening issues. So here's the edit button, as you can see, Darth Fame. It takes me straight to the GitHub page where this Markdown file is hosted. Markdown is super simple. I love Markdown. I was ranting about how much I love Markdown the other day. You can hit this edit button at the top and it'll switch it from sort of the rendered view to the actual raw text. And that's what you can edit. And then it just walks you through like making a commit and everything. You don't even need to actually like pull the repository. It really is very simple, especially for small changes. If you're doing,
Go ahead.
If you're doing things like adding pictures or something like that, there's a couple extra steps, but it's really good.
Yeah, and like you can even copy and paste the Markdown into, if you have a preferred Markdown editor or something. VS Code has a live view and a preview view side by side, so you can see how the Markdown is actually going to look when it's published, and that helps me a lot. So I always copy and paste it into VS Code and then go from there.
Yeah. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we were also listing people who created issues for certain pages. So we actually have that integrated inside docs.microsoft.com. So you can leave feedback directly on GitHub.
This is really cool too. When you fill in a comment, so it looks like just a comment at the bottom of a doc, and it actually goes through and creates an issue right out in GitHub, and then gives you credit for it and everything. So yeah, it's really nice. They've done some really nice work on this.
Okay, I feel called out in chat. People are saying I do have the light theme of GitHub. I know there's a dark theme for the GitHub extension, or there's a GitHub extension for having the dark theme. It does rearrange where some stuff is, and I do not feel comfortable with it yet. So,
there's even a dark theme on Stack Overflow now.
Yeah, that's like the big change this year.
Did you guys see their April Fool's flashlight theme? Where it was like completely dark and your mouse was just a flashlight that you could use. It was amazing. Okay. Cool. So something else I wanted to call out was that this weekend Channel 9 is still totally churning out content, which just totally brought a smile to my face. So there were a lot of cool stuff. They go over updates in the Windows terminal, and they're totally social distance. And Christina's just streaming from her apartment and everything. So I thought it was really cool. So you can still get all of that content, but in live, and that gives a really good overview for all like Microsoft developer tools. Another thing I wanted to call out is Mads Christensen and Scott Hanselman got together and did Visual Studio remote office hours because Scott Hanselman has worked for a really long time remotely. His whole team has been remote, and we're all sort of onboarding onto it. And I'm such a huge fan of Mads Christensen and Scott Hanselman. Why not watch it? They also give really good advice about how to set an example for working from home norms if you are like a manager or a leader, and tips for working from home with young kids, which was just so nice to see.
Or cats, depending on the case.
Or cats. Yeah, absolutely. So that is basically all the content that we had. Oh, also Visual Studio Toolbox is also releasing work from home. What am I trying to say? Like remotely created videos, which is really cool. Lots of fun stuff happening.
And Build this year is going to be remote too.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So we have Build coming up.
Completely virtual. There's lots of excitement about how the heck we are going to organize settings and do demos. So that'll be cool. Cool. So is there any Q&A today? Any chat stuff that people want to talk to a Visual Studio product team about?
Yeah. We have the famous John Galloway too, so.
That's true.
I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing. Let's see.
All right. Well.
Well, so as far as the you were showing the GitHub experience, and No, there's a different thing with branches and all that. I'm curious if you have a favorite kind of way of working with branches and all that. I honestly try to keep it as simple as possible because I'm probably going to mess something up.
Just commit to master.
There you go. Force push.
Push straight to master.
Yeah.
I'm curious on the chat too if people have, some people use like get flow, and then there's GitHub flow, and then there's different things. There's feature branching. Honestly, for those sorts of things, I end up using something like Kraken or the GitHub desktop. The GitHub desktop's pretty nice lately too. You know what I mean? It's
Get Kraken.
Yeah, Get Kraken. That's like the octopus.
Beast.
Yeah. That's
okay,
pretty
cool.
nice.
I think I generally, so I see somebody saying they use Fork. I use Fork quite a bit. Also just CLI. I think that for most tasks, CLI is pretty clear. You can always, it's a lot more able to mess it up too. I think one of the cool things that Fork has, I think we have this integrated in VS for Mac as well too, is the diff view. So being able to see side by side what changes are in which files, I think that helps me contextualize those things quite a bit. Whereas if you're just seeing the plus minus in the command line, it can be a little hard to see how that is, in its context. So
I think that's something we talk about it with, like I know with Visual Studio for Mac, and I'm sure probably Windows as well, is that we would like the experience, especially thinking of like want a good experience that's not too complicated for most things you want to do. But then, or, for the standard day-to-day, I'm committing something, I'm pulling source, whatever. But then if you want to do something like merging stuff that's complicated, or like, dealing with multiple branches, it's okay to like use another tool and pop out, and kind of go between the two. Or use console, like you were saying, Cody.
I think it depends on context. Like I think that's the good thing about integrated terminals too, is that if there's something you want to do quick, you don't want to go through all the menus, you can just do a quick push from terminal. I think that, with any other tool, it's a matter of what works best at any given moment for the use case. And so I think being able to support those different use cases all at the same time is pretty handy.
Yeah. I definitely use the CLI most because I've been so trained, but like it's usually at the beginning and right before I push, I might switch back. But for branch management and everything, I definitely use the Team Explorer tools for now. Hopefully into the new Git experience now.
Do you use the new Windows terminal preview?
No, I don't. I use the Git bash because let's see, especially since it's for initializing, I need to be able to, I can like navigate to the folder that I want to use and right click inside of it and it automatically launches in the correct directory.
Yeah.
So initializing, obviously I can't I don't really want to open the folder in Visual Studio and initialize that way. But well, I guess we're not actually sure if that was possible before, but now it's totally possible. So maybe I should do it. I always basically have a code folder at the root of my C drive, and that's what I use so that I'm less likely to run into path limitations or whatever. Yeah. So most of I don't use the Visual Studio source repos directory a bunch if I can help it.
That max path thing seems to have totally been fixed by this point for me on Windows. I have not run into a max path issue in the last year at least, which is nice.
I believe we did fix some things. I think I feel like there's still cases where you can find it if you're ingenuous.
I did a Python, since Python has a lot of nested stuff in it, or in PM. I think there's some instances where you can get pretty deep down a tree and you end up at the max path.
Actually, now I do remember I tried out the mobile Blazor bindings and hit some weird max path thing, but it was a weird error, and I was like, just in case, let me move it to the root, and sure enough, it totally worked.
Yeah. So I wonder it's interesting. So that's what I do.
That works. I think, like I said, it's a matter of what works best at any given time. People get used to the workflows. That's the thing that with VS for Mac 2, we're always looking about the best ways to make sure that people who have previous VS experience are comfortable, but also maintain that look and feel of a Mac application. Because you have folks who are coming in from native Mac experience, folks coming in from native Windows experience, and those in some cases are diametrically opposed to one another as far as how the application goes. Like, for example, today we were talking about preferences, and on Mac the default is when you change a preference, like a font, it immediately changes it. You don't have to hit accept or apply on a Mac application, whereas in Windows the changes don't actually happen till you hit apply. And that can be kind of disconcerting for somebody who's not used to that sort of difference. And so we're always trying to find that balance. I think the same goes for being cognizant of the fact that people work in different applications in different ways, including Git. So it's kind of a fun subject to look at.
Yeah.
What's
great.
Oh, go ahead. I'm reading the chat.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is a good thing. That came up in the chat is PoshGit. And PoshGit is really nice. It adds a lot of stuff like for integrating Git into your terminal. So it'll show some nice kind of status of, like, so into your console, it'll show status. And then it also includes some nice kind of commands. So that's part of like setting up a Windows machine. Scott Hanselman did a post recently on some of like setting up your Windows terminal. And using the new Microsoft Terminal and doing all the fonts and all that, but also part of that he showed setting up PoshGit. So I do recommend that.
Cool.
It's been around for a long time, and it's pretty nice. It may even be installed as part of the GitHub for Windows install. Wouldn't be surprised. So, and one other person mentioned in the chat the new GitHub. I don't know what it's called, CLI, it's called GH, it's just GH, it's a thing, and it does things like it adds on commands for like pull requests and listing issues and stuff like that in the console. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's another example of where having an integrated terminal into your IDE is really nice, right? You can, if you have that GH, you just pop into your terminal, hit GH, and you can do more advanced, if there's something that's not in the Git experience in your IDE, you can do it from the GH thing as well.
That's crazy. So I was scanning through Reddit and Twitter and like Hacker News and everything because I always want to kind of know what news I want to bring into this channel. And there was a really cool thread on the .NET Reddit that was just about like it was kind of describing that someone had posted that they've been studying C# for a year as like a student, but they felt like they weren't actually still like able to create like a professional application for an enterprise because they didn't feel like they had that real world kind of something or other. And the top comment was awesome. It was like, programming is only about 50% of it. The other 50% is working across like this crazy combination of technologies and having this vast familiarity. Like we just talked about source control and we named like 20 different things that people could use and in combination with all of each other. And when you bring in like databases and CI pipelines and all of the services you could do and with in production, it's such a huge combination of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
interesting.
just figuring out the best tool for the job. I mean, I think that goes for like any trade or any thing. Is that you have to figure out what the best tool is and know when to use it. And
yeah, but it can be a little overwhelming. And this is reminding me. I was helping someone on Twitter this past week that was getting started with some web dev stuff, and already you've got your IDE, you've got your back end, your front end, and using multiple JavaScript libraries together and all this stuff. And my recommendation to them was just, here's one tutorial that focuses on just one thing. It's just the IDE, and I forget which it was. But it was just one example. And like I recommend try and learn one thing at a time if you can. Because if you're going into something new and you're learning 90 different things at a time, it can be so much, and then you don't know if something's not working. You don't know which thing is wrong. And then another nice thing is there's multiple right answers to a question. Like we just talked about, there's 90 different ways of doing source control. And if you're getting work done and you're happy, like, that's okay,
Yeah.
So.
And there's 90 different ways to do source control. Even after we like recognize that Git won, there's like 90 different, it's just infinite. Yeah. I've recently been looking at, it's a website called flattenthecurve.com, and it is about the COVID response and hosting like helpful information in a lot of languages. Sorry. But I was trying to do a basic contribution, and my PR was very dumb. But it did take me like 3 hours to add just like 12 lines of code, and I was just trying to learn Ruby, Jekyll, and Liquid. And the reason my PR was basically bad because I didn't account for their localized system, which I from what I can tell is like a system where a bunch of different translators can use a tool to input what text should be in the website, and then it generates what markdown it needs, in which like different post combinations, and it like one page is a combination of like 20 different markdown files. And that's how it all generates. And I don't know, it was just funny that like, oh, I did need to learn yet another small piece of how this repository works in order to actually do something helpful, which I have not yet done, but we'll see if I can make it through. It was interesting.
Yeah, I'm learning R right now too. So it's always fun to kind of learn a new language or something just to.
Oh, yeah. You said you had a huge Python data script or something running in the background of your computer. What does that have something to do with it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to analyze some big data, and I'm comparing R to Python to see which gives A, the most accurate results, and B, which is the most performant. So it's kind of a fun little, just a side project I'm thinking about right now. So it'd be kind of fun to try to,
Are you using RStudio?
Yes, I am.
I remember the first time I hit the different plot options, it blew my mind.
I know.
Because, like, I think I had one of the first Python tutorials. I think it was like the 7th Python tutorial I did or something. Mm-hmm. It was teaching about how to like graph a scatter plot. Mm-hmm. But in RStudio, it was like one click of a button, and I was like, what?
I know. And you can make it look really advanced too. Like it can automatically refresh the plot, and it can look like you're doing crazy stuff.
Oh, it's so neat.
Yeah. It's a fun language.
Yeah, that's pretty. I'm sad I don't do as much sort of like research work. I don't use R as much. I use a lot of Kusto.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
that's there's a plug-in between the two as well. So
Kusto's a Microsoft thing for doing data analysis stuff. Microsoft is so data driven about everything. Like we really do. Like people ask about if you care about something, like let us know, vote on it on the developer community stuff and all that, and then like that totally drives what we work on. And we're like very, very data driven. And Kusto is like this thing where everyone's like, I don't know, it's complicated. I've had to work with it before, and I didn't feel like I ever mastered anything. Cody's really good at it.
I love it. It's fun stuff.
I was really annoyed I had to learn something new because I had already knew SQL and a couple different, like just data handling and stuff. But I am really glad that we do have like external Kusto docs. Like Kusto is an external product now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to just like mention something internally.
No, that's cool. I wasn't aware.
Home over it, which is great because it's also easier to find the docs.
It is. And I think it's really useful in log analysis as well. So if you're trying to, you can store your logs in that format, and you can query it pretty easily.
Yeah. Well, cool. If we don't have any more like questions in chat, we can probably sign off for this week.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Thanks everyone for joining.